Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Roll it, Tony.
Dean has polycystic kidney disease. His wife will be donating on his behalf.
Dean, what are you doing? Thought I told you not to eat before the surgery.
Oh, if I'm going to get a new kidney on James Bell's dime, I've got to make the most of it. Dr. Strauss, I can see that you and I have got a lot of...
Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest today is a talented entertainer and media personality with experience in stage, screen, radio, music, and television. He's also the co-founder of the Australian Theatre Company, which launched international media in 2014. This is, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Nick Hardcastle. Hello there, young man. How you doing?
Oh, wow.
What good to see you. And
Thank
welcome
you
to The Actor's Choice. First of all, I see you were born in Australia.
I was, yeah.
In a little city called Sydney.
Well, I wasn't born in Sydney. I was born in a smaller town called Newcastle, about 2.5 hours out of Sydney, and then grew up further up the coast in a little country town called Sawtell. And then I moved to Sydney when I was about 17. 2 days after my final high school exam, I got out of there and moved to the Big Smoke.
Okay. There's a map of people showing where Sydney is on the map there. Oh, yeah. I was stationed in a little place called Diego Garcia out in the Indian Ocean. So every now and then we would make our way over to Australia.
Oh, wow, really? And end up at the docks at Woolloomooloo and out of Bourbon with all the ladies.
And the food.
Yeah, the food in Australia is exceptional.
You've done a lot, I'll say, things. Let me just say things. And one project I know that became a favorite with kids on Saturdays, Disney and Nickelodeon, and alongside the Wiggles, played for 5 seasons, called Creative Features. Tell us about that program, sir.
Oh, yeah, getting into children's entertainment and television was definitely not part of my linear pathway that I ever thought I would do. But I was hosting Saturday morning music show, and it sort of rolled on from there. And the next thing you know, I'm hosting the top-rated kids TV show in the country called Creature Features, which was this pets and animals show that allowed me to travel all around Australia, animal sanctuaries, zoos, celebrities and their pets, crazy, like some people who had water buffalo as pets, or, slept with their 3 pigs, or somebody who had bought a guinea pig for every day of the year. So she had 365 guinea pigs in her double garage. I swam with sharks and rolled around with tigers and lions and dingoes and snakes and spiders and all sorts of things, as well as all those cute and cuddly domestic pets. That was such a great job. Not an acting job as such, but as having that gig for 5 years opened up so many other doors as well. So yeah, I loved my time in kids TV.
I can see it on your face, definitely. And then you came here to America to get some TV and film work in. An early role that you got was called a drama and romance TV series called Home and Away. Remember that?
Oh, wow. Home and Away was really my first big series regular type television job, and that was in Australia in 1997 and 1998. There's someone blowing leaves right outside my window. I'm so sorry, audience, if you can hear that. But while on that show, I worked with some amazing people who have gone on to have great careers, like Isla Fisher and Heath Ledger, who I worked with for a time there. That was great. But also people like Chris Hemsworth and Tammin Sursok, and lots of people have gone through that show, Guy Pearce. It's a great sort of rite of passage for a lot of Australian actors, and it's an excellent apprenticeship to sort of set you up for other film and television work.
Guess what? We just happen to have a little clip. Roll it, don't it?
Really?
Hold position on all exits.
Everyone we care about is in there. We get through this because we've got no choice. We have to. And the only way through it is by sticking together.
Gosh, this is really recent. when I was in the show 27 years ago. But that's the show. Yes, that is the show.
That is the show.
I should have sent you the clip of me beating up Heath Ledger in the Summer Bay Surf Club.
Okay. Another piece of work that you did was called 12-Pound Balls. You came in and out of the country. This was in 2017 when you did this one.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
This was I met this fantastic guy called Zachary Matson, who directed 12-Pound Balls while I was making a documentary in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places. And we just got on so well. He'd written the concept of 12-Pound Balls, and he's so funny. And I jumped in. I did this great sort of, I guess, little supporting role at the end of the film. But we have now collaborated and written another film, which is actually going into production early next year, around April. It's really exciting. It's the big project that I'm sort of focusing on.
Tell us a little bit about it. I won't tell nobody.
Yeah, okay. Well, the name of the film is Stone Palace, which is actually a silly play on my name, Hardcastle. It's about a former 7-time world artistic inline roller dancing champion, who, when his sport disappears, so does his relevance, his fame and his glory and his self-worth. And now in present day, somewhere Australia, he is in a spiraling marriage and an assistant PE teacher at an elementary school, and absolutely miserable. And when his former protege turned nemesis starts blowing up on TikTok and Instagram, she brings all this attention back to the sport, and he sees that as the lifeline he needs to get his fame and his glory and his self-worth back, and finally find true happiness. It's very ridiculous, and we're really, really excited about it.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Now you back and forth between UK, Australia, and here. You just move on.
Right. Yep.
Interesting. Now you also did 30. What do you call this? Theatrical credits that you got. The work that
I mean, I've been working in the theatre my whole life, and I was really lucky that straight out of school I got into the National Institute of Dramatic Art and started working in theatre. And theatre is, it's my happy place. It's my joy. I wish that I could do it all the time, but as you know, you also need to pay your bills and eat. So I've been really lucky to find a great theatrical community in Los Angeles. Originally through Australian Theatre Company, which I founded, as you said, back in 2014. Unfortunately, I stepped away from that in 2019, but I started my own production company called Gentleman George Productions. And we've since produced 2 world premieres and a short works theatre festival called Short and Sweet.
Yay!
Opening this week at the Marilyn Monroe Theatre in West Hollywood.
Before we get off the air, please show that one more time, please. There it is. Woo, there it is.
Get your tickets at sweet-tix.com.
Yes. Wow. That's good. That's good. I should mention, ladies and gentlemen, that this gentleman was the co-founder of the Australian Theatre Company.
Yes, that's right. So we were around for 5 years, and we worked. Yeah, we didn't do. It was really important to us as the Australian Theatre Company that our mission was actually about deepening the relationship between both countries, not just about showing off who we are. And so we worked with amazing American practitioners like John Patrick Shanley and Larry Moss. And, we had incredible American actors and audiences coming on in and working with us. We created a international scholarship program with the Australian Theatre for Young People and their international ambassadors, Rebel Wilson and Rose Byrne. And then we worked with government, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, to create this trajectory for emerging theatre makers to come out of Australia, over here, work with us and their mentors, put on a showcase of their work, and then try and catapult their careers internationally. And that was hugely successful and something I was really proud of with my time that I was there.
I have a bone to pick with actors and actresses on this show. I know a lot of them that come here to Hollywood. They do film, they do everything else, but they don't do stage. They won't get them that stage.
Yeah, and look, I can understand it's a tricky landscape to navigate here because we don't have a real theatre district, and we don't have so that doesn't create that sort of tourist footfall where people go to LA to see a show in the same way. It's got to be like destination entertainment. And try as we might with like Theatre Row or even downtown, it just isn't there yet in this city. So, we rely on the theatre community itself to sort of get together and help elevate each other. And that's why, what you're doing is so great. And anyone that gets out there and supports and advocates for other artists and theatre companies are to be, cherished and appreciated. But we have this fantastically vibrant, intimate theatre scene here. So many great artists. And I think the challenge just is finding ways to produce theatre that allows actors who are really good at what they do the sort of flexibility to still audition for film and television work and maybe go off and do that, but still come back to the stage and hone their craft and get that joy that they need by doing live theatre.
Get some training too at the same time. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, honing their skills, really just staying sharp. I mean, I try and get in class most months just to do scene work and work with other great actors just to keep that really sharp. But it does get difficult. We're all hustling, but we're also working. And sometimes when you're on set, you're there 12 to 14 hours a day. It doesn't leave a lot of time for much else.
Speaking of working, ladies and gentlemen, Nick does a lot of things. One of them is TV hosting.
Mm-hmm. One of my first job, I got my SAG card.
Yay!
As a host on KCET here in 2013 when I first got here. So I'm very grateful to KCET for that, and to have worked in that sort of PBS type space, which was something new that I didn't really know about when I came here. But I had worked at the public broadcaster in Australia, the SBS and the ABC. So public broadcasting is very close to my heart. I think it's incredibly important, especially in America in these times. Very important.
Well, guess what, Nick? We just happen to have a small click. Roll it, Tony.
This off.
Hi, I'm Nick Hardcastle, and I've been working as a host and a coach for hosts, presenters and speakers in Australia, the UK, China, and now I'm here at the LA Actors Company. Well, I've been doing this for over 20 years now, which is amazing because I'm only 28, as you know, Melinda.
I do.
Each week, everyone works in front of the camera on exercises designed to really develop your unique point of view. Who are you? Where do you fit in the cultural landscape of television and media? Who is your audience? How do you want to reach them? And how do you want to be perceived?
That's you.
That's for my hosting class.
Yes.
I've been, I was actually working with the LA Actors Company for a while. They're great people. And I ran a hosting class out of there for a few years, and that was awesome. But I've been coaching professionals in various areas, people who don't actually have training or expertise in being in front of the camera or scripting, messaging, public speaking. They might be CEOs or corporate execs. They might be personal trainers, hairdressers, whatever, and just working with them to help develop their personal brands and
yes,
their on-camera technique. And I've always really enjoyed that. But it's interesting. I've always also been quite careful not to cross the line when it comes to really presenting myself as a coach as opposed to a performer, because I find that line quite tricky to navigate. I very much want the universe and the world and everyone out there to know that I am first and foremost an actor and a performer. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But I do like to harness other people's skills and help develop them as well.
We have just a few moments left, but I want to show you a bit of photos that we've got. Tony, can you throw that first one up there? Ooh, who is that standing there? Who is that?
That was my first week.
Yes.
I arrived in LA, 10 years ago.
Look at this one.
That's my home.
Yeah.
I live in Indy and Banjo.
Who are the two guys there? Who are those?
Banjo on the left is a gorgeous border collie. Indy on the right is a neurotic Australian shepherd.
Next one, Tony. Oh, look at this on the beach.
That was my first time in Hawaii, which was actually just this year in January. I'm desperate to get a place there because it's kind of like the halfway point between LA and Sydney. I just think from now on, why not stop in Hawaii for a few days on the way?
Right. Yes. Next one, please. There you go.
Oh, that was this Christmas in our kitchen. There's a gentleman in the middle. His name's Wayne Harrison. He is probably Australia's most celebrated theatre director of all time. He was the Sydney Theatre Company CEO and artistic director for the entire 90s and set that organisation up as the commercial and cultural powerhouse that it is today. And now he has a show at Las Vegas called Absinthe that he created that's been running for, I think, 9 or 10 years, which is the most successful show in Vegas. And then on the left, there's a woman named Jackie Diamond, and she is the program director of our Latin X program at Short and Sweet, which opens this Thursday night.
Thank you. You did it again.
TikTok.com.
All right. All right. One more photo we got for you. Is that?
Okay, so this is from that television show Creature Features I mentioned that I hosted for 5 seasons in Australia. On my shoulder is Modigliana, the feral cat. She has a lot of attitude. And then, of course, there's just an owl who's popped in to say hey.
Wow. You do a lot of stuff, like I said. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What's next for you, sir?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the film that we're working on, which we're super excited about, is just about to go into pre-production. I have a show in London at Crazy Coq's on the 21st. It's called I'm Your Man. It's my stories of online dating and disasters to the music of George Michael. I'm hosting a big gala out there as well while I'm in London. And yeah, I just got back from doing a little series for the BBC in Portugal. Yeah, I really, and who knows what else, but right this very minute, I'm focusing on my job as the festival director of Short and Sweet, which runs until the 30th of October at the Marilyn Monroe Theatre.
I can say grass. Got you. I can say grass doesn't grow under your feet. I can say that. Indeed,
It doesn't.
thank you so much for being here with us today. When you get a chance, come on back. And much thanks to Nadine Jolson and Phil Salkoff. These are the people who helped me get you on the show today.
Oh, fantastic. Well, much gratitude to them, but also to you for having me.
Come back again, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Hardcastle. Indeed, indeed. This is the Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to let you know that we are asking our actors people to help us get former baseball player Curt Flood into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, Curt passed away January 20th, 1997. He was the husband of one of our wonderful guests, renowned actress Judy Pace. Please contact our office at 213-349-3941. That's 213-349-3941. We sincerely thank each and every one of you for being a part of this magnificent award for a great football player. Okay? Okay. Roll it, Tony.
The Anishinaabe Theater Exchange formed because we were in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and we were trying to find ways to connect people to storytelling in the region.
Was thinking in the back of my mind about climate change and about really that phenomenon of missing and murdered Indigenous women is really just exploding.
Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest today is a poet, playwright, and scholar. She has a collection of poetry as numerous plays she has produced. She's also an actress with credits, including The Bingo Palace, Sliver on a Full Moon, and musicals Distant Thunder and Missing Piece. And she's also director of the American Indian Resource Center at UC Santa Cruz. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carolyn Dunn.
Good morning.
She has done it. She has done it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
what a
you,
lovely introduction.
Oh, you do a lot.
Little outdated, but that's okay.
That's okay. When you look at her resume and the education this lady has and what she is, she's a Native American, what she has done, marvelous. Welcome to the Actors Choice.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. It's lovely.
Thank you. First of all, tell us where you were born.
I was born in a small town called Los Angeles, California. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. Yeah, born in Tongva land, in the home of the called Tavongnar, the home of the Tongva, sometimes known as the Gabrieleno tribe. I am mixed race. I'm a BIPOC person. I was BIPOC before BIPOC was even a term. So I am mixed with Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw. A lot of that coming from my mother's Creole background. Atakapa Ishak and Tunica Biloxi in Louisiana, and African American, and a long French Creole bloodline, going all the way back to early Louisiana, Mississippi, early Oklahoma, as well as Canada and France. So, wow, got deep roots both here and in other parts of the world, and also in from the European side too.
What a background! All those. I'm just trying to think all the special parts you are, the food that goes along with it.
Oh yes.
I mean, you can sit down and eat this, eat a little of that, a little of this, a little of that.
Yes, I grew up eating amazing food, and interestingly enough, my Japanese American aunt who married into our family was the best cook, and cooked, Creole food and Cajun food like nobody's business.
I'm thinking about it.
Yes, made the best. She was. I am so blessed, and we just celebrated her 88th birthday. So yes, she's still with us.
Yes, 88. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. When did you start telling and writing stories?
Oh, that is an excellent question. I have dear friends that I grew up with that we still all run around together. Just matter of fact, saw a couple of them 2 weeks ago. And they can remember when I was in 3rd grade, I would go to the paper cabinet, and you remember, the lined paper in 3rd, where it had the hard line across the top, and then the dotted line where we, back in the day when we learned a thing called cursive. That's how we had to use that paper, and I would cut it in half and I would write stories on it. And I think that that's always been, I was raised in a home full of storytellers. My uncle being the biggest storyteller, of my late uncle being the biggest storyteller of them all. And just being kind of that conduit of not only family stories, but community stories, and always having just an ear for mythology and folklore, and really knowing a lot of these stories, hearing stories growing up, not only from our own cultural spaces, but from, Greek and Roman and all of that. And having always just been very interested in mythology from around the world. And so that, I think, really informed my storytelling. And then, and I think I really, and I always tell my students, you mentioned that I was at UC Santa Cruz, and that was a few years ago. And a wonderful lady, Dr. Hernandez, succeeded me at UC Santa Cruz, and now one of my former students, Angel Ryututar, is there at UC Santa Cruz. But I'm currently at Cal State LA, where I am assistant professor in the theater department. I teach playwriting and dramaturgy, and I think that I got my ear for dialogue when I was in junior high school, what we used to call junior high school back then, middle school now, if we're going to, be current. But in middle school, I would write soap operas starring all my friends. So I think that's where I got the ear for dialogue, and co-wrote our Christmas play. So that was my first play I ever wrote. Wow. Was our Christmas musical that I co-wrote with my best friend. So I've been doing this a long time. Yes. Been, poetry and playwriting and fiction writing for a long time, and ended up, my parents said, "What are you going to do with a degree in theater?" And here I am, all these years later, professor of theater.
Wow. Wow. Talk about, if you would, the current treatment of Native Americans, and is it getting any better?
Oof, that is a pretty good question. I think that we really are on the cusp of breaking through into theaters and breaking into homes. We've been doing this theater work for a very long time. The companies, I'm affiliated with 2 companies, Native Voices at the Autry, which is it's really the only equity producing theater that produces works by Native folks, American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, First Nations folks. And so they, have been doing this work for over 20 years and have produced several of my plays. I'm also affiliated with Oklahoma Indigenous Theater Company, which has been producing work by Native folks very much at the community-based level for about 12 years now. So and I feel like we've always been here, and we've always been producing and doing this work, but kind of not really in the mainstream until now.
Gotcha.
Until television shows. I have to say, give my kudos to Rutherford Falls, give my kudos to Reservation Dogs, these American TV shows that are really kind of breaking through now, and seeing a lot of that kind of coming into American consciousness. So we've been around for a long time. There's classic films, Powwow Highway. Oh God, I'm losing my train of thought, but Smoke Signals. Sort of these classic films that really written by and starring Native folks that are classics in terms of Native cinema.
That's
and kind of had some breakthrough moments in there. We're starting to see Dark Winds, the series on A&E, that's produced and written by my friend and starring Zahn McClarnon. So I mean, folks are really starting to kind of break into, and Native stories are breaking into mainstream.
Gotcha.
Which is about darn time. So we've been doing this a long time, but I feel like now it's folks are starting to realize that there's Native folks out there doing this.
Thank you. We could talk about that subject all day.
We
Two quick things I want to say. Did you know Sunny Skyhook? You ever heard of that gentleman's name?
I have met Sunny several times. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna tell him you said. I'm gonna send a copy of this to him.
Yes.
Yeah, he was on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, good. Yes, his activism in the industry, and really, his push toward authentic voices in the Native entertainment industry has been very, very powerful.
The other thing was in your educational background. I see you got your MA at UCLA, or UCLA as we call it, and then you got your PhD called Paul High and Deeper at a place I call USC.
Yes, I'm a divided family.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yes, and it's so funny. I grew up in a UCLA family in a USC town. I grew up in San Pedro.
Yes.
And I'm from there because I say Pedro and not Pedro.
Yes.
So I grew up in San Pedro, and San Pedro was very much a USC town. And so again, I feel like a quadruple minority, being one of the only few BIPOC folks in town, then one of the few UCLA folks in town, then one of the few, shall we say, social justice warrior liberals in town. And then so a triple quadruple minority. And then when I went to USC, I always tell the story where it was raining one day, and I forgot my jacket, and I go, I'm just going to go to the bookstore and grab a slicker or something. And I went in, and I could not bring myself to buy a USC slicker. It was that entrenched in me. But I went there and graduated and got a degree and loved the place. So
it's all that counts. It's all that counts. We got just
so I am one of those houses divided now.
Got you. I understand. We got just a few moments left. I just want to. You came here for a reason today. Besides talking to you and I, Desert Stories for Lost Girls.
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
Desert Stories for Lost Girls is an amazing play written by a beautiful young playwright named Lily Rushing. Lily is from the Genesaro tribe in New Mexico. Oh, there she is. There's our Lily.
Thank you, Tony.
Lily.
Tony's a busy guy.
And as a professional professor who teaches playwriting, this play is just gorgeous. It's, we're still in development with it, but her voice is highly original, beautiful. It's the story of a family whose displacement goes back generations, and a story of secrets and lost relations and lost identity and reclamation of that identity and reclamation of those secrets. I play Rosa, the grandmother, the keeper of the secrets, and the twist is that Rosa has dementia, and Rosa speaks only in metaphor and in poetry. So it is incredibly, as an actor, it's an incredibly difficult role to play. But I do have experience as a mom and a daughter myself, being the daughter of a woman, very powerful, very strong woman who did suffer from dementia and eventually passed from dementia. So I do have that lived experience. So I relate to Rosa. And before Rosa passes on, she needs to impart the family's secrets to her granddaughter, Carrie, so Carrie can heal the family and be able to return home. Again, an amazing, beautiful story, shepherded by Native voices in collaboration with the Latino Theater Company at the Los Angeles Theater Center. First partnership between these two wonderful entities. More that we hope to be able to develop and build on. And just two incredible companies that are doing, again, amazing work with marginalized voices that really should be mainstream voices.
The play opens, September 30th?
Yes, we open September 30th for a 3-week run at Latino Theater Company at the Los Angeles Theater Center, downtown Los Angeles, 5th and Spring Street in the old financial district. Beautiful old theater. I'd seen many productions there over the years, built into an old bank. We are in the Mayor Tom Bradley Theater, which I am so pleased about. Special place in my heart for Tom Bradley. He and my grandfather were police officers together way back when, way back when. So I have a long history of, a long Angelino history. So we are in the Tom Bradley Theater, which is a beautiful, beautiful space, and so excited to be able to present this new work to the world.
All right. Carolyn, thank you so much for what you brought us today. I would say you were put here for a reason, lady.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Thank you. And you mentioned my earrings, my
I can't help. I asked Tony, what is that? Because every time I see you, because you always have different pictures of you. You always wear ethnic earrings.
I gotta say, I have quite the earring collection.
I can see that. I can see that.
So these are my native Minnie Mouse.
Woo!
I have been a Minnie Mouse,
Yes,
Minnie Mouse and Wonder Woman. Between the two of them, I don't know, what does that say about me?
Says a lot about you. Quite a lady. Quite a lady.
It does.
I want to thank our favorite publicist. You know her, Lucy Pollock.
Yes, yes.
Love that lady's too much. Thank you.
And grateful to Lucy for introducing us and creating this opportunity.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Carolyn Dunn. This is the Actor's Choice. I'm Ron Brewington. Ladies and gentlemen, we just got some good news and we want to share it with you. There it is. On Thursday, September the 1st, the United Broadcasting Network, or UBNGO, Roku channel was launched. We're very excited. We have a great lineup of UBNGO content to program, including this program, The Actor's Choice. So to get information, please go to programming@ubngo.com. That's programming@ubngo.com. Okay? Okay. Thank you, then. Roller, Tony.
This is my last trick. Watch carefully. When I'm done, I'll tell you how it works.
When you undress a woman with your eyes, that's just half the story.
You don't happen to have any mouthwash?
Can you hear me okay?
Never mind.
Because once a woman says yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, My next guest today is a very well-known person in this town, okay? What does he do, you say? Well, he's a casting director. And so what is a casting director? Well, stick around, folks, because today we have one of the best in the business here today. Oh, I almost forgot. He's also a director, a writer, and an actor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rick Pagano. Thank you, sir, Rick, for coming down. Welcome to the Actor's Choice.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm very happy to have you here today. Like I said, everybody knows you. Before we begin, would you please tell us where was you born?
Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, no. You mean Brookline? I know Brookline. I know it very well. I was born in New York City, Harlem, and raised.
Just the other borough.
Right. And remember Floyd Bennett Field out there at the end of Flatbush Avenue? Yeah.
I was born in Flatbush.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
I was born in Flatbush.
Woo! Flatbush. I remember it. My goodness. Rick, when did you begin your career as a casting director? Now, folks, please understand there's two different types. One is plays, and the other one is films. So let's go with the plays first.
My first job was with the Pittsburgh Public Theater. I had a little bit of experience working when I had a part-time job with an off-Broadway production of a play called Buried Child, which won the Pulitzer Prize way back. And because I had a little bit of experience making some phone calls, a man named Ben Shackman hired me to be his literary manager, casting director, and producer of new plays. So I worked for him for 2 years in Pittsburgh, then came back to New York, worked in New York for freelancing for a year, and then went out to the Mark Taper Forum in Los Angeles and cast for the Music Center of LA for 2 years before I started my own business.
Wow. You at the Taper Forum, the Center Theater Group, you were those organizations?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Top groups, ladies and gentlemen, best in the city. Indeed. Indeed. You have done, and when you told me this, it slapped me in the face. You've done over 200 roles as casting director for plays.
Well, I've probably done more than that. I've probably done 200 theater productions. I sort of counted them up between the stuff I did at the Taper, the stuff I did for Pittsburgh Public, and then for about 5 years, I cast for pretty much every major regional theater around the country. So I would do 5 or 6 plays I was usually casting 2 or 3 plays a month, and I did that for about 5 years before I got out of doing theater and mostly doing film and TV.
Okay. When you talk about people, always the subject of chemistry comes up. How do you get the right chemistry when you're trying to put together a cast?
Of course, it's hard and harder now. In the old days, I hate to talk like that, but in the old days, you could get people in the room. And in fact, we did that with some films up until about 2014, 2015. We were doing that with bringing in the lead actor to do final reads with the final callbacks. However, it's become more complicated and more difficult unless you have the time and the energy to either fly people up to where the actor is, fly the actor into where you are, fly everybody into the same place where the producers are, because there's just so many people are in different locations now.
What's the difference between some folks don't know, what's the difference between a director and a casting director?
Well, the casting director is the guy who, the same way that an editor edits film, an editor may get 40,000 feet of film and his job is to edit it down to, the best takes. And then have the director come in and maybe finalize what choices he's made. That's what I do. What I do with actors, I take, I may get 2,000 or 3,000 pictures and resumes submitted for a role. My job is to narrow it down to, I don't know, maybe 100, somewhere between 50 and 100, and try to see all those people. Out of the 50 or 100 that I choose off of the 3,000, then pick 10 to put in front of the director. Right. The director usually is the person who makes the final decisions, except that at the studio level, it's really the studio people who make the final decisions. The director can talk about the person he wants, but it's certainly in film, the final decisions get made by, or they get approved. Let's just say they get approved by the studio. That's a nicer way to put it. Yeah. And in television, of course, it's the writer producers who are really the final decision makers, not so much the director. Director can give his preference, but the ultimate decision is with the producer writers.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Always want to know. It's a system that we have in Hollywood, the way they do
right.
it.
And the difference between the casting directors and the directors, I guess I would say I think I may have. It's kind of the difference between the person who sets the table and the guy who's running the whole banquet. You know, the director has to think about 70 things, 70 different elements, and bring them all together, including getting the actors to give the right performances. Casting directors just doing one element of the dozens of things that a director has to focus on.
1986. That was your first credit as a TV film casting director. It was called Extremities.
Extremities.
Extremities
was based on a play by Bill Master Simone, and it wasn't incredible. It was a somewhat easy casting job in the sense that there were really only 7 or 8 characters in the whole movie, and the director really just wanted to see. He didn't even want to do readings. He just wanted to meet people, and he made decisions based on meeting people and knowing their work.
Gotcha.
It was a nice experience.
Wow.
Robert Young was the director.
I just thought I'd sneak that one in there. Your first casting director. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has right now on paper 133 casting director credits. He's probably got more, but they have 133. And as you go through some of the films that this gentleman has had, The Young Writers 1989 TV series, Murder in New Hampshire, the Pamela Smart story, TV movie 1991, Without Warning, the James Brady story, the gentleman who got shot when President Reagan was president.
Yeah.
Picket Fences, 71 episodes, TV series 1992 to 1996. The Blacklist TV series 2013 to 2014. I mean, this gentleman has done a lot of work. Hotel Rwanda, 24. And that was from 2002 to 2007. That's a 5-year stretch. You were on call working it out. X-Men, The Last Stand. Altered Carbon, 9 episodes. I'm just going to go just one or two more. You have 2 films. Ladies and gentlemen, he's got 2 in post-production right now. Coffee Wars, The Neon Highway.
Mm-hmm.
And you also just completed Hypnotized.
Hypnotized is not really, I don't know that I would say I'm not sure where that project is right now.
Okay.
I think that's a project that we did a long time ago and that's never really gotten a release. And so it's been the kind of constant post-production. It was a fun experience, but I don't know what's happening with it.
Okay.
Lovely experience.
Let's take a look at Extremities. This is a clip we got.
Daddy, Mommy said lunch is ready.
Be right there, baby.
He is a hunter. He is waiting for just the right victim. And just the right moment. It happens every day.
Without a description, even if we do get prints, it's still...
Wow. Wow.
I hadn't seen that in a long time.
And I figured, I said, bring that one back. Bring it back. We don't do gossip. So I'm not going to ask what happens on the set, but it is a lot of things that happen on the set.
Well, let's just say there are a lot of personalities on sets. But there's also a lot of fun on sets.
Yes, sir.
I think a lot of the drama that you may hear about, there's an old saying in our business, no drama without pay.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of the actors we've worked with are real pros and really don't have any, they don't bring their issues onto the set with them most of the time. And so they're just ready to work and have a good time and do the best they can do.
Yes.
I would say that's 90% of the time, the experiences have been great.
That's great. But there's a thing out there in Hollywood, we call it EJO. You familiar with EJO?
Yeah. Sometimes it comes up once in a while.
Every now and then. Hey, come on now.
It comes up. But it comes up with producers too, and
Oh, yeah.
directors too, and you know, there are different. You'd be surprised at some of the egos that you know, pop out at different moments. So it really depends on the every circumstance is different. So
What's the pressure like being a casting director?
well, it changes. With independent films, the pressure is to try to get the best possible actor. You're more of a salesman, so the pressure is on you to find the best possible actor who also can help now, these days, help with the financing, because that's the big job with independent films. You have to get an actor who greenlights the film, who makes the financing viable. At the studio level, usually there's a star already involved, and then the pressure is a different kind of pressure. It's a pressure that comes from the bureaucracy of the studio, in which they're wanting you to see certain people or cast certain people, and there's a lot of pressure to make a lot of people happy. The first studio movie I cast had 4 people in a room making decisions. I was one of them. The director was there. The president of the studio was there, and 1 vice president. The last studio movie I cast had 27 producers and 5 executives of casting, and I never even saw Tom Rothman, the head of the studio. And you know, I mean, that's just like trying to get. If you've ever tried to get 3 or 4 couples to decide on one restaurant to go to for dinner, that's easy compared to what a studio casting director has to do in terms of getting everybody to agree on an actor.
Like I said, you know a lot of people know you. Indeed. So, you're also an actor. Now, who casts you when you are an actor?
Well, in every situation where I've been an actor, it was always a director that I've been working with who wanted to put me in to a project that I was casting, because when you're a casting director, you read with a lot of people, and so it's just they start hearing your voice, they get familiar with you, and so in a couple of cases they wanted to give me small roles where, you know, 5 or 6 lines. I was a teacher in a movie with Anne Hathaway. I was in a movie with Jeff Goldblum playing a deli owner. Rodrigo Garcia just cast me in something kind of like a thug, a New York thug in a project that he was doing. I think it's fun. I was going to turn them down, and I had a teacher, my directing teacher, said, "Why are you turning it down? Do it." He really pressured me. He said, "Don't turn them down, do them." So, wow. But they were little things. They're not. I don't aspire to be an actor.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick came here today and he brought something super with him. You just saw it at the opening of this interview. He's doing a movie called 10 Tricks. Can you tell us about 10 Tricks?
10 Tricks originated as a play. It was a series of monologues about men. And, you know, we live in a time now when women are, when it's, you know, throw a rock, you'll hit a book or a movie about women and the inner psychology of women, but not very many things about the inner psychologies of men. And I wanted to explore that. And, you know, the obvious place I thought about would be a psychiatrist or a therapist's office. But that just seemed to be a little predictable and a little boring. And so I thought, well, what would be the last place I would expect to kind of watch or see men open up? And it became my first thought was a brothel. So I set it in a brothel, and originally in one version of the play, she was dying of cancer, but then I made a change and I thought, where's my life? I really wanted to have a child, and I really wanted to change my career.
Yes.
And so I made it about a magician who's fed up with his doing magic tricks and is basically burning out on stage while he's doing his tricks, and a madam at a brothel who wants to have a baby, and because her choice, she's taken all the fertility drugs and she's ready, and the guy she's made a date with, her date that she's picked for genetic reasons, she thinks he's the perfect, he'll be the perfect have the perfect DNA for her child, he chickens out. He skips town. And so she's now surrounded. She's in a place surrounded by men trying to have sex. And she's trying to figure out if any of these men would make a good partner for her, make a good father for her. And of course, they're all failures in one way or another, in some ways that are very comedic and in some ways that are not so comedic.
Rick, we just happen to have a clip. Roll it, Tony.
I just wonder
What would you wonder?
what it would have been like for us.
Funny thing is, not the sex you come here for, is it? Something else.
Wow. 10 tricks. You were the director, you were the writer, you were the producer.
I wrote it and I directed it, yeah, and had a great time doing it. Everybody, and I had a wonderful cast. It really, I have to say, the cast was absolutely terrific. And, you know, I have to also give a shout out to Randy Miller, because Randy was someone that I had worked with on several films, Bottle Shock and CBGB and a few others. And Randy was the one who saw the film and said, you know, it really needs something. You didn't really mean to do this in a contemporary way. So he took it and showed me what it would look like in black and white. And then we came up with this idea, mostly inspired by him, to put in silent movie cards, to make it look, to give it a feel like an old time silent movie. Because I wanted it to feel like a fable rather than a contemporary film. I wanted to give it a timeless quality. So the combination of the black and white and the silent movie cards were really inspired by Randy in a lot of ways. It was great.
Rick, we got to go, unfortunately. I wish you had more time. What can I say? I know I learned a few things myself today, thanks to you.
Good.
Casting directors, there's always something else, really. Continued success in what you do. Please do come back again, Rick, please.
On my next film.
Yeah, all right. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Sponsors her Harvey Brandman, Photography as an Art. Ron Irwin's Loose Life, Way to Lose Weight. Larry Buford's Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule. State Farm agent Carla Green, and veteran actor Rob Brownstein's Actor Training School and Actors Space. Much thanks to our guest today, actor, entertainer, media personality, Nick Hardcastle, poet, playwright, scholar, Carolyn Dunn, and director, writer, casting director, Rick Pagano. Thank you. And of course, special thanks to our ever growing audience. Be well. We'll see you next time.